Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to mix a main room techno track. We are going to be talking about how to take a track that you already have, but it just doesn't really sound that good, and get it there and get the mixing sounding really good. In front of me, I have this template. You just heard the finished version of this in the intro, actually. And the link to this is right at the top of the description. What I've done here is I have this in front of me today, and I'm going to be using it to show you guys everything you need to know about how to mix your own track. So the link to that is at the top of the description if you want to follow along. Plus, as you heard, there's just a bunch of cool stuff here if you just want a cool project file to work with for inspiration. Link is at the top of the description. Like I said, it really helps support me. And yeah, let's get started. So I've got this. I'll play it for you now. I've sort of like unmixed it. So you can hear the mix down not sounding too good at all on this right now. And assuming that you've kind of gotten through the stages of your track where you've gone and actually composed the track, you've got it laid out, you've got the arrangement, you're probably now at this place, right? Like, you know, we have the track, everything is here, we have all the elements that we could possibly need. It's just that, you know, the mix really doesn't sound there. So, the first thing I'm going to do when we're at this stage is we're going to go and turn everything off except for the kick. And you're going to hear something here. So, yeah, we're going to just take the kick and turn it up. I have a little bass groove and a rumble underneath it as well. But right off the bat, we're just going to take that and kind of get it up to about where we want it to be. And the first thing that you'll notice here is your kick and your bass and like your actual elements. Before you can even think about mixing them, the actual elements that you're going to mix have to be solid. You know, you have to have a good kick, a good bass line, a good rumble, because ultimately, like, you know, it's just a matter of leveling, right? Like, it's just a matter of getting that up there to where we can hear it with everything else in the mix. So, like, if you make a track and just grab a bunch of, you know, like, random samples, I'll say, like, let's say, you know, you grab a kick and you say, okay, well, later we can go and take this and make it a better kick when we're in the mixing stage. You're wrong. You're not actually going to make it a better kick when you're in the mixing stage. Again, this is just about leveling stuff out. So I'm just going to get that kick up there. And then I'd probably start moving to the drums from there, because we kind of want to work our way up, right? Like, the most important thing in the mix in a track like this is going to be the kick. And then we go in. And now we're just using the kick kind of as our point of reference. We could also go and maybe blend in the bass a little bit at this stage too. Wow, that's sounding pretty solid. Now we can bring these in. And again, like, the mixing is going to come quickly if your elements are already set up in a way where they can be mixed. Like, for example, here, like, we have a tambourine and a shaker here. This is a shaker. This is the tambourine. These are two very different sounds. So when you play them together, you know, the mixing is really going to be pretty straightforward, right? Versus, like, let's say if I go and I try to compose my track where I have, like, a shaker and then another shaker underneath it that's kind of different but really just doing the same thing as the first one, well, then yeah, of course you're going to be going and looking for all different types of compression and different things like that to bring in with it, because, like, you know, your sounds just aren't right. But if the sounds are right, again, it's just going to be a matter of kind of mixing them like this. And another thing here too is You know, in techno, you pretty much want the loudest, like, hardest thing to be the kick and the bass. So we're kind of mixing everything around that, like, you know, this mix may not sound great for a house track, but here it works great to just have the kick and the rumble and the bass so much louder. So that's another thing, like, just keeping in mind the genre that you're mixing. And kind of like, what are the most important things in that genre? Then we can also bring in, I'll turn on this clap here. We can bring in our ride as well. And then I've actually prepared this here. So this is an example of, like, obviously this ride is very different from any other sound in the mix. And it's standing on its own, but it kind of needs something else to make it kind of stand out in the mix. So what we're going to do here is I have this echo on it, which is just doing this. You can see we have the left ear and the right ear at 2 different times, but they're very fast. And now you can hear. So the ride is in the same place in the mix. I can even turn it down a little bit. But now, because it's spread out in the stereo field, we have it a lot wider than any of these other hi-hats and cymbals. You can see that wideness alone is enough to make it stand out. So a lot of times, you know, you can even have, like, the right sound, but sometimes you just need to kind of think about it, not just in terms of volume, but also in terms of the stereo field. Like, I think, just like I said, making this wider is a really good way to essentially tell the listener, like, this is different from the hi-hats, but it's still going to fit into the same place. And then that's another point, too. You know, just thinking about it, like, you know, mixing is essentially, like, helping communicate your track to the listener. Like, I think you need to think not just about, like, again, like, technical, like, okay, spreading this out in the stereo field, like, where is the right, like, does this need to hit the right loops and all that kind of stuff. And really more just thinking about, like, what are you telling the listener? Like, okay, by having the kick and the bass, the loudest thing in the mix, we're telling the listener, like, this is a really aggressive, hard-hitting track. And then same thing, like, with this ride, like, we're using this echo to help communicate that there's another layer here to these cymbals that makes them sound really good if you listen for it. So then from there is where you can start bringing in synths, and the key to this is essentially that we're going to start with our main, like, right up front synths. Like, in this case, it would be this arp. Maybe that's where I would take that and start to bring it up a little bit. Let me turn up the amount of this auto pan so it fits better with the kick. Yeah, just get it sounding a bit sharper. Then we can also bring in these main stabs. And then this is also, like, something that can happen a lot of times, like when you have these little just cool kind of, like, choppy sounds like this. A lot of times, you know, you really just want to take the time to listen to this and make sure that you can, like, hear it in the mix too. A lot of times I hear people make tracks and they have cool stuff in there, like these little, like, especially once you start to get to these little, like, kind of choppy sounds like this, but it's just you can't hear it. So you gotta make sure that, like, you know, those are audible. Like, we can turn off the ARP actually. You know, and now it sits a lot better in there. So you really just want to, like, make sure that you can hear all that kind of stuff too. And this is really going to extend to these layers too. We have, like, all these cool little sounds, but again, like, you're not hearing any of them. So sometimes we just have to take a second and just have everything playing in the mix. It's all leveled out pretty nicely. Now we can go and just listen to everything. And like you saw, I turned up that ARP. I'm actually going to turn up just the main kick. And yeah, so if you follow all the steps, you should have a pretty well mixed out track. Like I said, it's not that hard. You have to make sure that you have really solid stuff to start off with, and then it's just a matter of leveling that out and kind of anchoring everything around the kick and the bass. So that is going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, literally this whole template from this video all mixed out like it is now. It's available right at the top of the description, so if you just want some cool inspiration, like a new template to work from, or if you want a nice template for mixing and kind of a point of reference to jump off of, the link to this is at the top of the description. Once again, it really helps support me. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.